is the show you were talking about. The guy in the bunker. Saying they're safe down there and this is the show. I wonder what it's called. Let me find
I
out.
was surprised that's one of mine.
Oh,
That's Sean Wyndham, is what?
oh, he's doing this too.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that is.
He's in the bunker.
But look, Sean Wyndham, he's the actor.
Over Field Lane. Seemed like he was crazy, but he's been right in the end.
Well,
Okay.
I'm thinking it's not long, so she would have really what, you know, look at it myself, she added all the, that's a big word, so, you know.
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, do you want, if you do your fingers like this, we have to do it in the oil.
You get it right.
That's cool. Not very developed.
I don't know if he's supposed to come in today or not. I don't know if Tristan is coming in on Mondays anymore. I haven't gotten anything from him, so he's not gonna come. But make sure you keep me posted on whether when he's gonna start doing, work in the office. Okay, so he's coming. Yeah, but he's coming, he didn't say about. So we're good. Come on up. We'll give us a surprise with us for you.
I did make the pomegranate.
I know, that's a surprise for breakfast.
Mm.
Oh, Justin hasn't brought it up yet. Bastard.
Anybody want to come in? You want to come on? Jasmine says, I'm gonna come in, there might be something good in there. Or maybe not. Have them check this water too, it's pretty low.
Oh,
What's that? Hi, baby, you want to come in? Vivi, you want to come in? Come on. I know you're gonna come up and get in here as soon as I close this damn door. Oh, look at him. Ugh. Good morning, Liam. How are you?
Um, Pretty good. Actually, home right now.
In bed?
Yeah, because my room has been turned into the storage room. So there's stuff all along my walls. So the only place that I can do class is in bed.
You mean, hang on, I'm recording like monks. All right, I just put the recording on. We're talking about your find out today, but I kind of wanted to take a few minutes just to wrap up the term. Val is still connecting to audio. It's taking him out. Oh, he must have a weak internet connection. So as Val, who's not here now, has so often said during the class, and I appreciate it, I think that the most important attribute of absurdist theater, besides giving us all these very strange and wonderful plays, is that it's our best connection from the world of modernism, as defined by telling a story that is often has messages that are fairly progressive and often against the status quo. And absurdism kind of starts to make that leap between modernism and postmodernism, because it often is created in a world that could be ours, but the action of the play determines that they're not. And you can see that in Rhinoceros. It's harder to see in Waiting for Godot, all the way up through Joe Orton, who it seems like at the beginning, like it's a realistic play, and quickly devolves into a farce, and then kind of goes a little bit further by making the ending so absolutely based on coincidence and this coming together of information that doesn't happen in the last 3 pages of the play, that we can see it's obviously not the real world anymore, and makes no claim to it. And that's really what absurdism is. It is a play that is questioning what our purposes are in the universe. In terms of Joe Orton, it's for a very specific population. In terms of Beckett, it's very, very general and applies to all of us if we can see that. But absurdist, one of the great things about absurdist theater is that it always makes us work to figure out why it's there, which I particularly like about it. I'm sorry. I have a dog that's giving me grief to get out of my sight. All right, get out of my sight. Leave. Leave. Go say hi to Kyle. She's a very disruptive dog. And I hope that leap. I was talking about the leap for those of you who just came in, that absurdism makes between the bridge it makes between modernism, which is about social, political, and economic change, and is looks towards changing. It's art that looks towards changing society to the better. To postmodernism, which is self-referential. It acknowledges that it's a theater piece and often does fun things with that. And it tends to work not on language, but often on signs, significations of past times and current times all together. The languages that we share aren't just a traditional language, but we share the language of music. We share the language of advertising. We share all these different languages that that give us insight into our current condition. Often it can be about television shows. There's all sorts of different ways that postmodernism communicates to us that is not necessarily through a story. And I think absurdism in some of its forms helped bring that together, especially Beckett. If you get a chance to see a play called Krapp's Last Tape, it will be in a bunch of one-act plays, because he wrote, after Endgame, he only wrote one-act plays, usually very short. In Krapp's Last Tape, it's about a man who apparently every year on his birthday, he makes a recording of for the new year, for his next year, and he often refers back to times in his life. So when he's making a recording this year, when we're seeing the play, he's actually talking about tapes he made about a previous experience that he had. And it seems like his whole world is wrapped up in this experience that he had, and he hasn't done anything since then except for think about and talk about that experience. And he eats a lot of bananas. It's a very strange play, but it's really good. It's a one-man play. There's Krapp and his tape recorder that he replays past tapes from other years. It's weird, but it's a really ingenious piece. So often postmodern theater and absurdist theater kind of has to be felt rather than talked about. And I think it makes it a more interesting kind of theater that kind of incorporates not just hearing and seeing, but also incorporates cultural touchstones, and kind of a shared experience with the audience that some people might not have shared, but that's how it communicates. Any final comments or questions about the material we covered in the class from you guys? That's okay.
None specifically about the material itself. More so about the actual process of writing our final paper, I suppose. And
That's what we're
most of
talking
those
about
questions were
mainly.
answered last time.
So what questions do you have to start off for your about your final and for your final?
Yeah, so I'm looking for the parameters of the paper, things like just like the nitty-gritty specifics, such as like page count, word count, font. Is that listed anywhere?
Do you have it, the assignment posted? I'm sorry, I don't remember if I posted. Did I post the assignment actually on Moodle?
Let's
I
see.
couldn't, I could not find a specific thing for it on Moodle either.
Okay.
Sorry to interject. I was going to say I tried to go back and listen to the lecture, the one of the classes that we first talked about it, and I think that for some reason there's 1 week, I think it was the day we first talked about the paper, where the videos are listed as private, and I could not open them.
Oh, you should have emailed me about that right away. Not that
This
you
was
did.
just this was just yesterday. I was trying to go back and hear what you were saying about it, and I think it's the day that we were talking about the paper because every other lecture works.
I'll go look and see, and then
It's either that or I couldn't find it.
I have some sort of save file that I can do that with, but let me go back to our Moodle page. And see what I got down
Sorry,
here.
Isaac, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I figured that was pertained
No, man,
to
you're good.
what we're talking about here.
I did not. I thought I attached it to our final assignment. Let's see that.
Because I guess I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like I didn't want to go too much further before I knew or got a
Okay.
refresher on the exact uh yeah, the parameters of how
Okay.
much we can reference.
A couple of things about that. The length of your paper will be determined by your thesis. Okay, so if you write your thesis question, if you write it in the form of a question, you have to answer that question. Okay. Hang on just a second, Liam. I'm looking at 5 to 7 pages possibly. And the best way to meet that mark is to give yourself and your research should tell you how much information is out there. If there's too much information, you need to narrow your thesis. What you don't want to do is say, what are the traits of, as your thesis, what are the traits of absurdism? And then talk about 1 or 2 traits and not cover that whole thesis. You need to be more specific than that. But if you say this paper is about exploring the worlds in is about exploring the world of rhinoceros, that might not be enough. That might be too narrow. So you kind of want to hit the sweet spot in terms of how you develop your thesis. And that's controlled by how much research you find out there on your topic. So let me get Liam's question and then we can, and then if I need to complete that, we can. Yeah, Liam.
Okay, this is going to be a really like simple question, but just so I still understand the trajectory of the paper, because I've done a lot of work on it and I just want to make sure. We were supposed to create a thesis question about one of the absurdist shows, comparing one of the absurdist shows to something else, correct? That is what the paper is supposed to be about.
No, it
Oh,
can be about that though.
okay, it can be. Oh, thank God.
So when you say that, what's your thesis? What do you mean specifically? Nobody steal the thesis.
Let me find. I'm gonna be comparing Waiting for Godot for to more modern adaptations of it, or like attempted recreations of it that I've noticed. If that makes any sense. I don't know where my thesis is though.
I've never heard of any of those.
Just things. So
So what's your basis of comparison waiting for Godot to other plays?
I want to take the absurdist elements that it uses and then compare them to how other plays use the same absurdist elements. So, and then more, I want to specifically take those elements and compare them to more modern plays. That I feel like try to use the same elements as Waiting for Godot and try to kind of recapture what that play did. Because after reading it, and then I've seen a lot of similarities in Waiting for Godot and the way it's structured and the way it's written in other more modern pieces. And I view those modern pieces as an attempt to try to recreate what Waiting for Godot is. And I want to try to explain why Waiting for Godot works and why these other pieces that use those elements don't necessarily work as well, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah, you need a thesis.
Okay.
You need to narrow that down. Because right now, you don't have any criteria for what you're comparing within Waiting for Godot. So you need to choose just a couple of elements of Waiting for Godot. And then you need to make sure that the plays that you're doing were attempting to do that. You can't claim that this play is attempting to model itself on Waiting for Godot, and use it to compare. I mean, it's kind of, unless you're making a point about that particular convention that Beckett invented. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's less of trying to say that this play is trying to do Waiting for Godot. It's just elements of Waiting for Godot that I recognize in other plays and why I think they might not work in that situation versus why I think they might work in this specific situation.
This specific situation is what? See, you can't, you're not able to concretely tell me about what the paper's about. And it's not a criticism, that's part of the process. Now you have to figure out what the paper's about based on this wide range of criteria that you haven't nailed down yet. And that should come from so if it's the world of the play, you have to tell us what the world of the play is from your perspective. And it needs to come from evidence, not just from I read this play and this is what I think. Does that make sense, Liam?
Yes.
This isn't, it's a research paper, which is different than I figured this stuff out myself. You have to find other people who have said it. In humanities, it's always opinion because there's no facts in humanities. It's all interpretation of the plays, but you have to get those interpretations from other people.
Understood.
Okay, so in other words, you want to know more about the characteristics of Waiting for Godot. And you see other plays that have similar characteristics. So using Waiting for Godot as a baseline, you want to explore these other plays that do that. But you have to make sure someone is saying that they do that. Okay, you can't just say this is a similar world of the play to Waiting for Godot because you can find any reason for it to be similar. Okay, so it can't be arbitrary choices. It has to be choices that you've gleaned from other critics. In other words, you're learning more about the plays rather than just explaining what you know about them already. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And that's for everybody. A research paper is saying, I am choosing this topic because I want to know more about it, and I'm going to go out and do the research to make sure I know about it. But generally, it starts with the research, and that kind of points you toward a topic that you can find evidence for. So, Liam, you're on the right track. It sounds like a solid objective, but now you have to nail down exactly what you mean by these things. And the way I do that is through outlining. And the way I outline is, Roman numeral 1 is, and I'll try and share an example of this with you. Roman numeral 1 is the topic sentence of the paragraph. No, I lied. Roman numeral 1 is the introduction. Roman numeral 2 is the body, and Roman numeral 3 is the conclusion. Okay, so you're going to have probably 2 or 3 paragraphs in Roman numeral 1 in the introduction, thesis, significance, and background information, stuff we need to know about the play in order to understand what you're trying to say. And that should all come from evidence. So when you say introduction, Roman numeral 1, then A, thesis, you can just state your thesis. But when you say B, background, so that's B, and then 1, 2, and 3 should be actual pieces of evidence that you have that you're going to put in that introduction to demonstrate the significance of your topic. And then that was one A, B, and then C would be significance and why is this topic important? And then for A1, and then for 1, 2, and 3, you're going to actually cite evidence in your outline. You don't have to write the paragraph. You're just telling me where you're getting your information from in that paragraph. I'm reading Maddie's question now. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Madeline's question. Yeah, I did. I apparently forgot to put them up, Madeline. I'm ashamed. It'll come in 2 forms. It'll come in a set of instructions, and then it'll come in a set of and then I'll give you some examples because you really should outline it. Once you outline it in the way I just suggested, does everybody understand how I'm suggesting you outline it? So, okay, sometimes people don't get that they don't get it. And I want to make sure you do get it. So what you're doing is you're using the topic sentence for A, B, and C for a paragraph. And then you're providing the evidence that's you're going to back up what that topic sentence says. And then you're concluding, and so you know how many paragraphs you're actually going to have in your paper. Unless, of course, you get to it and one of your paragraphs turns out to be 2 pages long, then you need to find subsets to break that up with. You don't want really, really long paragraphs. I shoot for 3 per page. That's very, very loosely stated, though. It doesn't have to be. So that's kind of the process. Research what you want to learn more about. Find a topic within that research and bring it down to a thesis question. 1 line, one sentence should be enough for a thesis sentence. And then everything else that follows needs to be part of explaining the answer to that question or the information you found that applies to that topic. If you say this is in this paper, I'm going to explore all of the criteria for an absurdist play, that's more like a book. You can't possibly do that in 5 to 7 pages. So then you're going to have to take that topic and break it to get more specific. So you can actually answer your thesis question. And the thesis should be the central point of everything else you say in the paper. Don't go away from the thesis at all, or else you're going to confuse me, which is my normal state, but at the same time. Okay, other questions? Really, that's it? So I'm going to put up the instructions for, I can probably find them right now. If I make you guys smaller or just move you over. SOU search. Oops, Research paper. Now I'm getting all the research papers from everybody. That is not gonna work. Where are my instructions? Nope, that's not long enough. I have a better one. So I'll post that right afterwards so that you have instructions. I owe you like 4 hours of class time. So please don't hesitate to use that. The quickest way to get a hold of me is through text. And I usually see that within a couple, at least, within half an hour, and we'll respond if I can. But if you have questions, if you need clarifications, that's good. And please contact me. Remember, I owe you the hours. So you're allowed to take those at will. Yeah, Aiden.
Sorry, real quick, can I ask, when do you think we'll be getting feedback on our previous essays? Because I'd like to use that as a reference for what I need to work on.
Okay, next couple days. I owe you 2, right?
I haven't gotten any in like a few weeks.
Have you looked in Moodle?
Yeah.
All right, let me see what I did then. There you are. Grades. So I've corrected Waiting for Godot, Rhinoceros, the Maids, the Visit. I owe you guys 3. I'm sorry. I owe you 3. So I'll be doing them in order. It doesn't take me more than a few hours to do them. I'll get at least the Dream and the Homecoming results done. I haven't checked on those to see also how many papers I have to grade. Okay. Again, I wouldn't waste time going back and turning in old papers, but many of you have turned them all in, and I do want to get those back to you. So thank you, Aiden. Remember, this is our last class because we don't meet on Wednesday, and you have the next 2 classes. You have 4 hours to put into your research paper that you need to put in at least that much, but there's also homework hours that you need to consider too if you want to justify the time. Remember, this is going to be the last set of final papers I read in my entire academic career. So make them good. Don't mean to put that all on you, and you don't have to do it for that reason at all.
I'm going to make it perfect for you, Eric.
Oh, I'm so happy. I feel like we're married or something. I've never written a perfect paper, so I don't expect a perfect paper from anybody.
I'm going to make an adequate paper for you, Eric.
That's right. Let's rise up to our own mediocrity. And
It'll be above average.
Feeling
Oh, God.
what?
It'll be above average, I swear.
Everybody's above average in Ashland. So that's good. Yeah, we all, and there's always something bad there's always criticism for any paper. So don't worry about that. Write what you think. And if you truly make this a paper about something you're interested in, then it's a lot better. It's a very broad topic, absurdism, and it certainly can do what Liam's trying to do and kind of trying to bring updated examples of absurdist conventions that came through that other playwrights have implemented. You just got to be real sure that it's a real criteria and not just kind of a feeling.
So Eric, you were saying that because obviously this is due finals week, and you'd be available to Zoom and stuff when we're working on it. If we get like a very rough draft over to you before that time, could we like meet on Zoom and then go over it?
Yep,
And then you can, okay, then
that's the best way to do
find
it.
it from there. All right. Sounds good.
You can turn it in and I'll try to give you some broad comments, but and sometimes that's really easy and sometimes that's really hard. But the best thing to do is just to talk about the paper, and those appointments don't last for more than 15-20 minutes usually. And it also gives you it's more satisfying for you because you get a chance to respond. Anybody else? I got to tell you guys, this is probably one of the most interesting classes in terms of class discussion that I've ever had. You guys are really good at engaging the text, and most of you seem to know the text when we get to it. And so in other words, most of you did most of the reading before we even talked about it, which is great. I'm always hesitant to say anything about what you guys do because I don't know what you guys do. So I don't like to pretend like I do. That's kind of paternal. So anyway, I've really enjoyed this class. You guys have been very interesting, and you've brought up lots of really interesting ideas about each play. So I appreciate your engagement this turn. And I wish you all the very, very best for your futures. I hope everything that you want in life you get, even if you don't know what it is now. And if you ever need me as a sounding board, if you're going to graduate school, if you need letters of recommendation, just because I'm not associated with SOU doesn't mean I can't talk about how you've done, how you were at this time. And I've written letters of recommendation sometimes a decade after students have left. I keep all my records is why. I have all my I have my entire SOU, whatever drive they're calling it now, the one that we use for our personal stuff. It's all on a thumb drive. So I have all the records from now. And I probably won't record over that for at least a week and a half after I graduate. All right. So be in touch. And thank you all for a very pleasant term. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Take
See you
care.
around, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Enjoy
good one.
yourselves. Have fun. And remember, school's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Enjoy your holiday week, Eric.
Oh, I
Thank
will.
If you choose
I
to
will.
celebrate.
Take care. Eat a
All
lot.
right. I
Get
will
fat.
eat a lot. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.